Another thing you have to get good at is reading a question and drawing a picture that involves triangle. A retaining wall is leaning at an angle of 70 degrees to the horizontal. A rigid support is placed 5 meters from the base of the wall and will be attached to the wall 2.5 meters from its base. Determine the length of the support to the nearest tenth of a meter and the measure of the angle. What makes questions like this easier or harder is if you know what things are, right? So this is sometimes a tough thing. Do you know what a retaining wall is? No. That can make the question a little bit harder. So sometimes when you're building houses or building buildings, there's like hills, and you might put a wall. Wow, that's not a wall. That's an elevator. You might put a wall out of brick to hold up the dirt. Ooh, I don't know if I have a brown pen. Orange dirt. There we go. Here's our dirt. We want to have a wall holding up that dirt, but that dirt is putting pressure on the wall, so it's bending right now. They told us that here's the ground, I guess after the wall, that it's leaning at an angle of 70 degrees. So 5 meters away from the base of the wall, they put a bar to hold the wall up, or some sort of support. And that is attached 2.5 meters from the base. So this length is 2.5 meters. Determine the length of the support. So I'm going to put an X right there because that's what I want to find. Can I use SOHCAHTOA? I could when they first built the wall. Man. And then the dirt bent it. The dirt bent it over, and that totally ruined my SOHCAHTOA. Because they probably built it straight up. Don't you think they would have built it straight up to start? And then over time, the weight of the dirt pushed it and bent it over. So I can't use SOHCAHTOA. Do I have an angle on the opposite side? I have the angle, but the opposite side I don't know. So I can't use the sine law. So I have to use the cos law. So I look at my formula sheet, and the only thing I'm worried about on my formula sheet is whatever angle that I'm using goes with the opposite side. So I'm solving for x, and over here I have to have cos of 70. The other things don't matter, so I could have 5 squared plus 2.5 squared minus 2 times 5 times 2.5. And again, I can type this into my calculator all at once. 5 squared plus 2.5 squared minus 2 times 5 times 2.5. Notice this time I use the times button instead of brackets. That's perfectly okay. And then cos of 70. $22.699. And then x would equal plus or minus, but we don't need that. Square root both sides. I use my answer button this time instead of highlighting it. 4.764. And I should read it. Determine the length of the support to the nearest tenth of a meter. Oh, it's a good thing I read it. To the nearest tenth would be 4.8 meters. Oh, I didn't even read this the first time. Does this ever happen to you? You get so excited about solving the first part of the question, you stop reading and just start solving. This had a whole other part. Measure the angle between the support and the wall. We also need to find this angle. Grr. But now we can use the sine law. because I now know the x, and I can label it on here. I'll label it in blue, 4.8. Now I know an angle in opposite side, and now I can use the sine law to find the orange part. So the orange part, I'm going to call that, since we're finding an angle, are you okay with adding theta there? So now I'll switch colors. I want to find theta, so I write that first. Sine of theta over, opposite of that would be 5, equals, and then I know 70 degrees. And I'm going to write under here, not 4.8, I'm going to write 4.764 ... to show that I'm not rounding early. I can get the theta by itself by multiplying both sides by 5. I'm going to go to my calculator, use my fraction button. 5 sine 70 over, and in that bottom part, oops, oh, this is tricky. So it's, oops, sine 70. And when I go down here and I try to highlight that, I have to go up to highlight it, and then it highlights it in the wrong spot. So this would be a place where you like to use the answer key down below. It gives me 0.986, 0.986. According to your CAS rule, sine is positive. It could be in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. What's our reference angle for theta? Will be sine inverse of 0.986. So my reference angle is sine inverse of this answer, 80.456. So theta is also, and how much did they want me to round to? Nearest degree, 80 degrees in quadrant 1, or theta is equal to 100 degrees, right? Because if you think about quadrant 1 with the reference angle, and quadrant 2 with the same reference angle, this is going to be 100 minus 80 is 100 degrees. Do they both make sense? They do both make sense. However, based on our picture, because you could have 100, right? Or you could have 80. And what this is called is the ambiguous case in cosine law. They're never going to ask you an ambiguous case in the cosine law. They'll just say, look at your picture. Does it look like it's bigger than 180, or does it look like it's less? And it's going to be the smaller one. But we do have an ambiguous case with the cosine law here. Okay, circle question number 6.